Ever get that feeling, when something just seems a little too good to be true?
Yeah, I know
Uh,
exactly what you mean.
like, like when suddenly everyone's getting straight A's, like, is everyone really that smart?
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're diving into today, right?
Yeah.
We got some articles from listeners about this possible grade inflation thing that's maybe happening in Nigerian universities. And it's kind of got everyone buzzing.
Right.
We've got reports like from Nairametrics. We've got opinions from professors.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
It's definitely a hot topic.
So are more students really earning these top honors?
Right.
Or is there maybe something else going on here?
Yeah, it definitely raises some questions about what a degree even means these days.
Totally. Okay, so let's unpack this. We're seeing some private universities in Nigeria reporting like a huge jump in graduates
Right.
who are earning first-class degrees.
Yeah.
Like Salem University, they had 41 out of 499 graduates with first-class honors. Ajay Crowther University, 86 out of 2,679.
Okay.
And Benson Idahosa University, they had their highest ever number of first-class honors, 77 out of 1,029 grads.
It's eye-catching for sure.
Those are some like crazy big numbers, right?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what's driving this whole debate.
Yeah.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities,
Next, yeah.
ASUU,
Yeah.
they've raised some concerns about whether this is really showing like true academic excellence,
Right.
or if standards are maybe kind of slipping a bit.
So it's not really about like doubting the students themselves, right? It's more about the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's about the system as a whole.
Gotcha.
Yeah. ASUU, especially their president, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke,
Okay.
he's worried that this surge in first-class degrees from these private universities, it could put pressure on public universities to kind of do the same thing.
Right.
And that could lead to like a decline in standards.
Yeah, I get that, but wouldn't a little competition be a good thing? Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't that push everybody to kind of up their game a little?
I mean, yeah, that's a good point, but
Yeah.
there's another side to it,
Okay.
Like if everybody's getting top marks,
Yeah.
it could end up like devaluing the degrees.
Oh, interesting.
It makes it harder for employers to see who's actually really great.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like imagine trying to hire someone
Right.
and every single resume is just covered in A's.
Yeah, that would be rough.
Yeah, it'd be a nightmare.
And I bet it wouldn't be good for like the reputation of Nigerian universities globally either.
Absolutely. You could see employers starting to, maybe not trust qualifications from Nigerian institutions as much.
Right.
And that impacts graduates
Yeah.
trying to get jobs, both in Nigeria and, overseas.
Professor Osodeke also brought up the whole mass exodus thing.
Yeah.
All those skilled professionals who are leaving Nigeria.
Is he saying that there's a connection between, like, these maybe declining standards and all those people leaving?
Oh, absolutely. He's arguing that if professionals feel like their qualifications aren't really valued,
Right.
Maybe globally because of this grade inflation,
Yeah.
they're more likely to look for opportunities in other countries.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Which then depletes Nigeria's talent pool even more.
Right.
It's like a vicious cycle.
It's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
Where one thing leads to another and then boom.
Right. The whole system's in trouble.
Exactly. And Olorode, he uses this kind of stark analogy
Yeah.
to really drive this point home.
Right.
He compares it to like a building collapse.
Yeah. A tragedy, right?
Yeah.
Often exposes deeper issues.
Right. With like building practices and oversight and all that.
Exactly. And he's suggesting that maybe this decline in educational standards is maybe a symptom of similar problems.
Wow, that's a powerful image. Makes you really wonder if there are like cracks in the foundation of the whole education system.
Absolutely.
So we've got this this potential grade inflation issue, and then these worries about the brain drain. But wait, there's more.
Right.
The plot thickens. Right.
Right.
There's this controversial new curriculum.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The CCMAS.
The CCMAS.
Right, and it's causing quite a stir.
Definitely some mixed reactions.
Yeah. Professor Omotoye Olorode, he called it.
You know him.
Yeah, I've read some of his stuff.
Okay. Sure.
Really interesting guy.
Right. Prominent academic.
He called it neo-imperialist.
Whoa.
Yeah, strong words, right?
Yeah. What's the thinking there?
So break it down for us. What does that even mean?
Okay. So neo-imperialism, it basically means the way powerful nations or powerful entities exert influence over others.
Right.
Not through, like, direct rule, but through, economic or cultural means. Think about the textbooks you used in school.
Yeah.
Were they all made in your country?
I don't know, actually.
Yeah. Or were some imported?
Probably some.
Right. That reliance on, like, outside materials. That could be a subtle form of neo-imperialism.
Interesting. So is Olorode saying that this CCMAS curriculum, it's like a tool to keep Nigeria dependent on other nations for knowledge?
That's the gist of his argument, yeah.
Okay.
He thinks that the CCMAS, it disrupts, like, Nigeria's established academic framework.
Right.
And it could hinder the development of, like, homegrown solutions and innovation. It's really about the long-term impact on Nigeria's ability to, chart its own course.
In education.
In education, in its economy.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we've got this potential grade inflation thing. We've got the brain drain worries.
Yeah.
And now we've got this debate about a curriculum that some people are saying is like a tool of outside influence.
Right. It's a lot to think about.
This is getting pretty complex.
It is.
And then Olorode, he adds like another layer to this.
What's that?
He throws out this really wild statistic.
Okay.
He says that Nigeria has never allocated more than 7% of its national budget to education.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the recommendation?
Well, UNESCO, they recommend 26%.
Whoa.
Huge difference.
So Nigeria is way, way behind.
It's like saying we're worried about standards, but we're not even putting our money where our mouth is.
Exactly. That's Olorode's point.
Right.
He's saying this chronic underfunding, it directly impacts the quality
of the education,
which could contribute to these issues of declining standards and brain drain.
Right, which is what Osodeke was talking about earlier.
Yeah, it all ties together.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We've got this alarming trend of maybe grade inflation in these private universities.
Right.
Concerns about public universities doing the same thing. Fears about brain drain.
Yeah.
A new curriculum that some people are saying is problematic. And it's all happening against this backdrop of like chronic underfunding.
It's a lot to unpack.
This is a
lot. Don't worry, we'll break it all down.
That's what we're here for, right? To dive deep and try to make sense of it all.
Exactly.
All right, so we've uncovered some pretty like serious concerns about this whole grade inflation thing and brain drain and the impact of this new curriculum.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's like we've peeled back the first layer of this onion and whoa boy, there are some like strong opinions flying around out there.
They're out of passion.
Yeah. But before we jump to any like conclusions, I think it's important to hear like some other perspectives.
Absolutely. It's always important to consider different viewpoints.
Okay, so let's play devil's advocate here for a second.
Okay, yeah.
What are some like counter arguments to the concerns that ASU and Professor Olorode have brought up?
Well, some people are saying that this increase in first-class degrees, especially at private universities, it could actually like reflect an improvement in the quality of education.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you got to think private universities, they often have smaller class sizes.
Yeah.
Better student to faculty ratios.
Makes sense.
More like modern facilities, all that.
Right, right.
So, could these things be creating like a better learning environment?
Right, where students can actually really thrive.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not like automatically bad if students are just performing better, is it?
Right. It's possible that they're just, better prepared.
Right.
More motivated.
Yeah.
And also, we've got to remember that competition, it can drive positive change,
Right. Maybe this is pushing the public universities to kind of like step up their game.
Right, exactly.
Reevaluate how they're doing things, their curriculum. And in the end, wouldn't that be better for all students?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, instead of seeing it as a sign that standards are going down, maybe we could see it as like a sign of progress.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It reminds us to like stay open-minded.
Right.
And look for the good that could come out of this.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm still kind of wrestling with this idea of neo-imperialism.
Yeah.
And how it fits in with this CCMES thing.
Right. It's complex for sure.
Yeah.
It's a valid concern, that Olorode raises about the outside influence, but there are there are always two sides to every coin.
Okay, so flip that coin over for us. What's the other side?
Well, think about the benefits of like aligning Nigerian universities
Right.
with, global standards.
Uh-huh.
A curriculum like the CCMAS, it could make it easier for Nigerian graduates
Okay.
to compete for jobs, for educational opportunities internationally.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, in today's world, being able to connect with other universities, other employers around the world.
That's a huge advantage.
It is.
And it could also make it easier to collaborate on research with institutions around the world, which,
Right.
could lead to like new knowledge advancement.
Right. So it's about like finding that balance between keeping academic independence, but also giving those graduates the tools they need to succeed in the world.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not a black and white situation. It's complex. And it's about figuring out like the best path for Nigeria and for its students.
Okay. I'm starting to get it, I think. But we can't ignore this big elephant in the room, right?
Yeah.
The chronic underfunding of education in Nigeria.
Right.
I mean, how can we really expect the system to work when it doesn't have the resources?
That's the big question. And it's tough,
Yeah.
Increasing government funding is essential.
Right.
But it's not the whole answer. We need to think about like other ways.
Yeah.
Like partnerships with private organizations, philanthropy, international development collaborations.
So like diversifying the funding.
Exactly. But it's not just about money,
Right.
It's about, using the money well.
Right. Making sure it's going to the right place.
Transparency, accountability, and making sure the system actually supports the students and the teachers.
Makes sense. What about like the student perspective on this?
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, we've talked about professors, administrators, but we haven't really heard how all this is impacting the student.
You're right. Yeah, their voices are really important.
Yeah. Are they feeling more pressure?
Yeah. Are they having a harder time finding jobs?
Right.
After graduation?
Yeah.
Those are really important questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is giving me a lot to think about. It's not just about grades or curriculum, right?
Right.
It's about like the future of Nigeria and making sure its people have, access to good education that lets them succeed.
Exactly. And we're talking about investing in people.
Right.
The more skills and education people have, the better chance they have at economic success and just overall well-being.
Wow, this whole conversation has really expanded.
It has.
It's not just about individual degrees anymore. It's about building a nation that can compete on a global scale.
And that takes, a long-term vision, commitment to excellence, and a willingness to embrace change and innovation.
Okay, so we've really gone deep here. We've looked at this this great inflation thing, examined the CCMAS curriculum, and really looked at the importance of funding and investing in people.
Absolutely.
But now I'm wondering, what does all this mean for me, the listener?
That's a great question.
Even if I'm not like directly involved in education in Nigeria, how can I connect with these issues?
That's really what these deep dives are all about.
Yeah.
It's not just about knowing more stuff.
Right.
It's about understanding how everything's connected and how these issues have effects that, go beyond Nigeria.
So how can we use what we've learned today in our own lives?
That's where critical thinking comes in.
Okay.
And global citizenship.
Gotcha.
We can use these insights to like.
Oh, hold on. This is good. I'm going to write this down.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay.
So we can use these insights to think more critically about the news we consume, consider different perspectives.
Got it.
And support organizations that are working to improve education around the world.
Yeah, okay. I got it. Think critically about the news, consider different viewpoints, and support those organizations.
Yeah.
This is great stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you've given us like a toolbox for being better, more engaged citizens.
Yeah. That's exactly what we're going for.
Yeah, it's about going beyond the headlines, thinking critically.
Yeah.
And using that knowledge to make a difference.
Absolutely.
I'm feeling really inspired right now. This has been a wild ride.
It has.
But before we wrap up, I think you had one more thought to leave us with, right?
Yeah.
Those final thoughts, I always love those.
Well, remember when we were talking about whether grade inflation is like worldwide thing.
Yeah.
Or if it's specific to, certain places.
Uh-huh.
That's what I want you to think about.
Okay.
As you learn more, as you see news about education systems in other countries, ask yourself.
We're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into, Nigeria's education system.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating look.
It has. We've explored so much, like all these challenges and debates and those potential solutions too.
Right.
And right before the break, you left us hanging a little.
I did, didn't I?
Yeah, you asked us to think about if grade inflation, is it like a global thing or more of a specific contextual thing?
Yeah, are we seeing this all over the world?
Yeah, I'm ready to dive into that.
All right.
So as we're reading about, these different education systems in different countries, what should we be looking for?
Keep that question in mind. Are we seeing a shift towards higher grades everywhere?
Right.
Or there's specific things happening in different regions?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, are some countries feeling pressure, maybe economic pressure, to produce graduates with, higher qualifications, even if it means like changing their grading scales?
Right. Or maybe it's about different cultural attitudes, towards achievement and academics.
Right. And if there's this like global trend towards grade inflation, what does that mean in the long run?
Right. Does it change how we think about education?
Right.
Or are there like bigger forces, economic, social forces that are pushing this?
It really makes you think, are we putting too much emphasis on the grades themselves rather than what students are actually learning?
That's a really important question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it just becoming about the piece of paper?
Right.
And not about like what you can actually do.
Right, exactly. And it kind of ties back to what we were talking about before with employers maybe not trusting those qualifications as much.
Right, if everyone's going to top marks.
Yeah, it could get to a point where like your skills, your experience matter more than a degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is making me think about all those articles I've been seeing about the skills gap.
Yeah.
That disconnect between what employers need and what grads are prepared for.
Right, and maybe grade inflation is making that worse.
Right, maybe. So what does all this mean for someone listening to this? Even if they're not, in education or in Nigeria.
Yeah, good question.
How can they use this?
Well, it's about awareness and perspective.
Okay.
By understanding these global trends and how these education systems work, the complexities listeners can be more informed, more discerning, when they're reading the news.
Right, and maybe even more effective advocates.
Yes, absolutely.
For change.
For positive change.
I love that. So it's not just about, like, taking in information.
Right.
It's about using it.
It's about engaging with the world.
Yeah.
Using what you've learned.
Exactly.
To make a difference.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have. We started with this question about grade inflation and ended up uncovering this whole web of interconnected issues.
Right, all connected.
It is, and it affects everyone, really.
Absolutely, even globally.
That's the beauty of a deep dive, right?
It is. You never know where it'll take you.
Exactly. Thank you so much for guiding us through this.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
This has been a real eye-opener.
I'm glad to hear it.
And to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep.
That's right.
There's a whole world out there just waiting to be discovered.
It is.
And that's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.